this rapid evolutionary process that we're going through can feel like a breakdown before the breakthrough emerges. So it can feel like your manifestation, your highest timeline is right there. You can see it and you can feel it. But then suddenly, it can feel like it's far away and out of reach. And the reason why this is because whatever you're going through, and we will all experience this differently, is your own resistance from deep within coming to the surface. And for some, it can feel like it's out of the blue, almost like a deep night of the soul moment. And this could be physical or emotional resistance in the form of lack of self-confidence, old survival or fear patterns coming up to the surface, where you feel lost, confused, and you feel like giving up, incapable, and you feel like everything is going wrong and not according to plan. But your higher self is bringing to your awareness, whether literally through your dreams or through situations, resistance that needs to come up, that needs to be cleansed and released as you go through this alchemical transformation. And all of this serves a tremendous purpose to move you, all of us, very rapidly into a higher state of being. And this is what a lot of us are going through. And it's very easy when you're caught up in that situation to lose hope, to have doubt over our goals and our manifestation, and the ability to see and live life in the way that we know that we deserve, you know, what we yearn for and what we want, because we worked so hard to get to where we are now. And you might find yourself saying, well, what's the point in anything? I can't make anything work. What's the point in trying? What's wrong with me? Even though the manifestation that you want is right there, the timeline that you're trying to access is right there, it's on the other side. The doorway to all of it is right there. But we don't hear its ring and we don't hear its knock on the other side because we get so stuck in our heads that we lose sight of ourselves, of our vision, and the door altogether, that we lose hope. So it's like on the one hand, it can feel, you know, exciting. You feel confident and you can see all coming together. And then suddenly something happens and that alignment gets replaced with uncertainty, fear, anxiety, you know, self-judgment kicks in and unresolved issues may come up, feelings of unworthiness. And this is known as the emotional purge. And I wanted to share this with you because I know a lot of people are going through something like this, in particular as November is more intense than October. And I've talked about this before in my previous videos. And I found myself, you know, going through something like this as well a couple of weeks ago as I'm starting to enter a new chapter and a new phase in my life. And sometimes the journey has to get hard and it can feel like you're being forced into a very painful situation by your inner being. So you're being led to all of this as a means of showing you of what needs to change and to see if you really have changed. So in a way, it's almost like the universe is testing you to see if you're ready for that manifestation, for that new big thing that you really want, and for you to access that highest timeline. So even though, you know, a similar situation might reappear, or you might find yourself going through an emotional purge because you will have to, it's there and you've got no choice in a way. Your higher self is, you know, brought this to your awareness for a reason. So even though you're going through that emotional purge, it's about how you are responding or reacting in that situation that's going to make the difference. So are you, again, you know, repeating the same behavioral survival fear patterns? Or this time, even though you're in the midst of it all, in that chaos, are you choosing to perhaps respond and react a little bit differently? So even though you're in the midst of it all, going through that emotional purge, this is one of the powerful signs that your manifestation is close. And you are being drawn to all of this by your higher self. The universe wants you to transcend. It's the alchemical process of transformation as you transmute all that heavy stuff to achieve your manifestation. And it is worth it because when you get to the other side and you've drawn into your now moment a parallel reality version of you or something that you want to manifest into your now, it truly is magical. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Now, the very first week of November, I felt great. Everything was all aligning up and it felt absolutely fantastic. But then suddenly, out the blue, these feelings of unworthiness came up. Lack of self-belief, self-trust, self-confidence and self-judgment. All these issues started coming up. Now, at first, I tried to ignore them and just carry on as normal. But as the days went by, the more heavy and the more intense these feelings and emotions became. Now, at that moment, I didn't realize what I was going through, but it was very much a dark night of the soul moment. And these can last anything from a week to years and years. And it can feel like nothing makes sense. You lose hope on everything and everything around you collapses. And I remember that Friday in particular, because it felt like, the emotions and the heavy and what I was going through became so heavy that it felt like somebody had reached within inside of me and just ripped my spirit from within. Now, the one thing that I noticed that was different in terms of my reaction and my response was every now and then part of me would just emerge and just tap into something that I would feel grateful for, that I appreciate that I've got something in my life, before that chaos, before that darkness again took over. But that night, when I went to bed and I had my usual nightmare of a recurring dream, but what was fascinating about it was that I had this very unusual, or not so unusual, esoteric experience, a bit like a lucid dream, but it was very much out there. And I knew that I was being guided and being shown the path by my higher self. Now, in that moment, before I went to bed, the other thing that I did different compared to how my old self would have reacted or responded to this whole situation was that I sat up in bed and I meditated for 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, even though nothing came through, I was just hoping for all of this to just disappear, for things to just go back to normal of how I felt at the beginning of the week. And I just wanted to just, feel lighter, but nothing happened. I was like, okay, oh well, it is what it is. Let's just get to bed. This is just the way things are now. Now, what astounded me was that the next day when I woke up, I literally felt like I woke up in a new body. I felt like a new person. And I can't even really describe the feeling of it, but it felt like all of that stuff that happened before leading up to it didn't happen. It didn't exist. That it happened to a new person. I felt like I tapped into a new reality, a new parallel reality of myself. And then I noticed that things started realigning again for me, literally that same day. Things started shifting and orchestrating for me. And that's the wonderful, mysterious thing about the universe, because it always delivers everything to you, but just not the way that you expect it to be. That's how powerful this alchemical process is, and we will all experience it differently and at different intensity levels based on what your soul needs. In alchemy, it involves separating all that heavy emotional stuff and transforming it into something higher, into a higher form. And it's about doing that inner work to purify and elevate your consciousness and the refinement of your inner being. And when you walk through that doorway, you have to leave stuff behind. It's like boarding a plane. You can't take everything with you to your destination, to the life that you want to create, to your manifestation. You have to sift and sort through, just like doing the inner work and deciding what's valuable to you, to where you want to go. And your higher self knows you best, and it knows that you can't just make that jump from here to there or walk through that doorway. You have to let go of all that stuff, that deep stuff that's buried within your subconscious, even if on the surface it seems like you've dealt with it. So I just want to remind you that everything happens for a reason, for your highest good, and often the understanding comes later, and eventually it's these times that will bring you the gifts and the blessings that you so desire. So these energies that we are moving through can be regenerative, but also destructive. And it comes down to the choices that you make. And we are at a time in history where you can make a different choice. In this very moment, you were and are placed exactly where you need to be. It's part of your evolutionary journey, and you have to trust yourself and your higher self, the universe or God or whatever you would like to call it, and see it through, my friend. See these emotions through, staying present as much as you can and calm, looking for things to be grateful for, making time for yourself, and trusting whatever comes up, with the knowing that whatever is coming up is also going out. Letting go of whatever is no longer going to serve you as you access your highest timeline, drawing that experience to you from the unified field. By going through this emotional purge, you have the choice to either step into your power or sink more deeply, because this is a very strong pivotal point in the humanity, in the evolution of humanity. As the Earth's energy is shifting, humanity is also receiving an influx frequency of light. So as you walk through the doorway and you come out the other end, because you will have to make better decisions and better choices, creating new habits, new feelings and emotions as this new version of yourself that you want to become. So think about how this new version of yourself would think, feel and act. How would they behave day to day? The minute they wake up, what would the first thought will be? And it would have to be something different to, your old self in order to create that change, in order to create those elevated emotions and feelings, because that's when you can create change, greater change than your old self. And you have to fully integrate this new version of yourself, just as you would when you're doing that inner work and going through that emotional purge. You can also set new intentions and goals, and every now and then check in with yourself. And this is a really important part of, doing that self-care process, because this gives you an opportunity to reset before we get lost in the contrast of things. And then it's about gradually bringing your awareness and your attention back to the present moment of now through gratitude and appreciation. So keep that bigger picture of your manifestation in your mind's eye as you move through this, because that will give you the willpower and the focus to lock in and to get the job done, to achieve your goals and to shift to your highest timeline. And even if you can't see it or you're wondering how it's going to come about, just know and trust that all of this is happening, that all of this is a stepping stone to where you want to get to. But if you're still struggling and you're feeling lost or disconnected, then click and watch this video where I share with you 3 qualities that will reconnect you with your higher self. And it creates this mind-body connection where you're able to experience the signs and sensations within your body. And this heightened connection between the mind and body allows you to access profound wisdom and intuitive insights.